thing, but apparently in the Neverland, Finding Neverland or whatever, the kids say that Michael Jackson ate their ass, allegedly. Schultz could be making all this up. I have no fucking idea. But he was like, you could tell he was really eating ass too, because he was trying to shave down his nose so he could get deeper in there.
Oh my god. That's a very Schultz joke too.
Hello and welcome to a slightly lonely episode of 7 Days Makes 1 Week. I'm Freddie P in the place to be, joined by my producer Zach, as always behind the cameras, making sure all the technologies are technologying. How are you, Zach?
Not bad at all, man. Not bad at all. Just prepping to go out of town later today.
Yeah, where are you guys going?
Fort Mac.
I was in Fort Mac 2 weeks ago, just for a car delivery.
Yeah. We're going to be there till Wednesday at the earliest.
Ooh.
We got 7 jobs to do, so hopefully we get them all done. But the base crew, like Francesco's dad's crew, is going with us too, so we got the whole platoon out there.
Well, there's like they do a certain task, and then you guys.
They're the base crew, so they go and prep all the gravel and all that kind of stuff.
And like tamper it and shit?
That's right, and then water it, or sometimes it requires cement powder, which means we got to dig it down, add cement powder, mix it, water it.
And it just firms it up?
That's right, and then whenever that's all done, we come in and pave it.
Okay.
After them. And sometimes if the job's massive, because we've been kind of running pretty short at times this year.
Yeah.
Short on guys. So if we need help, they'll come give us a hand. So, yeah.
Fair enough. That's an exciting week. How about you, Beast? What's up? Just being a cat and shit? Okay, cool. Talk to you later. Pretty camera shy, that one. Microphone shy, actually. Not too shy of the camera.
She might come over to you in a minute.
I had a pretty eventful day yesterday. I did a drive for the dealership that everybody knows that I do some drives for. But to make the Coles notes of this story, and I don't know how much they're, whatever. I'm driving to like Claire's home, I think it's called, Alberta. It's like an hour south of Calgary, and then about 20 minutes from there. There's a city called like Nance or something. I can't remember. Nan something. We pull over there to get gas, and when I take like a 90-degree turn to get back on the highway, the truck just makes this weird sound and kind of like lefts or right a little bit. Then I'm doing 130 on the highway, but my steering wheel's like 10 degrees to the left. But I'm driving straight. Like, I should be drifting out of my lane by all intents and purposes. And I'm driving straight. And I'm like, this is fucked up. Then I have to make another right. There was a part where I had to make a right and then a left, separated by like 400 feet. So I make the right and like shit's getting all fucked up. And I'm like, man, this is fucked up. So my friend who was driving behind me is actually like a full-time employee at the dealership. So I kind of like relied on him a little bit. I pulled over and then he pulled over and I was like, man, like, I'm not a car guy by any means, but like something is fucked up with this truck, man. I don't know what happened. And he's like, all right, well, we're not far from the client's house. Let's just like try and get there. We'll see what happens. I'm like, all right. I go down this like 400 feet. I phone the client, tell him about 30 minutes from his house. Literally, as I press end, I get to a stop sign to make another 90-degree turn. That's a left. And my friend Dan, Dan's the guy that I'm talking about, our other host who sits in all the time. Dan's behind me, and he said, like, I meant to make a left-hand turn, and both of my tires turned. Then all of a sudden, my front left one just went back in towards my vehicle. So like both the tires were parked or pointing to the center of the vehicle. So I get out of the intersection, and we have to like call everybody. Blah blah blah. We call a tow truck. The client actually comes down and meets me where I'm at, and he's actually a heavy-duty mechanic. So he just fucking fires himself right under the truck. He's like, you guys mind if I take a look at it? We're like, hey, dude, it's pretty much your truck. You can do whatever you want, within reason. Hops under there, looks. Apparently, the tire rod had completely come off or not completely, but at least partially come off the wheel. Because one of the mechanics that was working on it didn't tighten a nut and bolt tight enough. So apparently when I left that gas station, the bolt fell out of the tire rod, and then the rest of the way it was just resting in place. And that's why my driving was all fucked up. But like, I was doing 130 on the highway, literally like 2 or 3 minutes before it completely fell off the tire. So like, in theory, if I would have like lane changed too aggressively or something and that fell off, I could have like literally had a roll over. I could have possibly died yesterday on the QE2 because losing a tire at 130 probably isn't gonna work out well for me on the highway.
Not if you're, especially if you're in a truck.
Yeah, I was in a truck, so that was a little eventful. What was supposed to be just a quick 4.5 hour drive down there ended up being like a fucking 11 hour. Well, 4.5 there, 4.5 back. Ended up being like an 11.5 hour day. So that kind of sucked. But then after that, the co-ed soccer team that one of our other hosts there, Nico and myself, were playing on had our year-end wrap party. So I went and had a couple bevies last night. Had to Uber home. Got driven to my car this morning because I had a couple. You have to drink responsibly.
At least
drink
you're
responsibly. So that was actually a great time. It was one of the guys on our team. He's like a older gentleman or whatever, and then his two daughters play on the team, and one of their boyfriends play on the team, and then the other one's boyfriend was there, and yeah, it was just drinking and smoking and having some good times, and things were good, man. It was a good Saturday night. Things could have been worse, that's for sure. Unfortunately, now today I'm hungover and I got to go to work after this, so that's gonna suck.
Where do you got to go?
I'm gonna go mill some cannabis at the facility. Yeah. Go grind up a couple kilos.
How much typically do you do in a shift, if you can do that sort of information, or if that's private information? Like, what do you do through, I guess I'll do this. Describe to me what you do during a normal shift.
I'm kind of weird at that job. I have, like, any day I could be doing an assortment of different roles, but lately the thing that I've been doing the most is milling cannabis. So we get, a shipment of cannabis, and it's still budded. It's still in bud, and I have to, we have a machine that mills it down to make, like, if you ran it through just like a hand buster grinder or whatever. And yeah, it's usually like, it all depends on like the density, the moisture, the keef matter of the machine, because that's how much I'm gonna have to clean it. If it's like a relatively dry, not that keefy bud, I could run through a lot of it in a day. But if it's like wet and kind of damp and moist and like kind of is gonna gum up the blades of the grinder, then I'm gonna have to clean it more often. But it's not unheard of for me to mill anywhere from, in one day, like 1 8-hour shift, anywhere from 2 would be like one cycle, but anywhere up to, I've probably done like 14 kilograms in a day before, which is a lot. Like, that's a lot of weed, but when that's the business, that's the business. It would almost be asking like Budweiser or something how many hops they go through. Like the number would be astronomical. And ours wouldn't be that high because clearly we're not that big of a company, but it would be something comparable. But yeah, no, that's fair. We're just we got our machines, humming along, and when things are good, you got to get to going. So you got to put in a little extra work on the weekend, but that's okay. 5 hours, little money for the pocket. I don't mind spending money. Are there any specific topics that you would like to talk about?
Not really. I don't really have anything. It was a long week at work, so I wasn't really up on my phone in the pop culture scene. What about you?
I haven't really been paying attention to like pop culture so much. I've been paying attention to sports a little bit. I know you're a sports guy too. Like, I can't believe I'd ever say this. I almost wish Pierre was here right now. Do you see what's happening with the Calgary Flames?
Yeah, they got Gaudreau signed. A lot of people are bitter about, or didn't sign. He signed with Columbus. A lot of people are bitter about that because they're wondering why he didn't just sign with Calgary and then let them trade him so they could at least
the old NBA sign and trade.
Yeah, so they can at least get some assets back. He just walked and took his talents to South Columbus, as they say.
I'm gonna take my talents to Ohio.
Yeah, at least a shout out to Ohio. That's where my mom's family's from. But at least Tkachuk was traded, right? And then he immediately signed an 8-year deal with Florida.
Oh, really? Because he was a restricted free agent, right?
Yeah.
Apparently, this is the first time in NHL history that a team has lost 2 100-point players immediately following the season that they both scored 100 points. Like, they both scored 100 points this last season, and now they just lost both of them. I heard somewhere, though, that Florida got, like, fleeced. Like, apparently Florida gave up a lot for Tkachuk.
Florida, I'll look up the trade details right now, but I know that Calgary got back Jonathan Huberdeau, who also scored 115 points last year. So it's not like he was tied with Johnny Gaudreau for second in scoring, was the guy they got back for him.
And, like, was it just 1-1?
No, it was, I'm just getting the details right here.
Tkachuk must be younger or something. There has to be something else.
Oh, Tkachuk is, I think, a tad younger. Okay, where's the actual? Okay, so Calgary received winger Jonathan Huberdeau, defenseman Mackenzie Weegar, prospect Cole Schwint, and a lottery-protected first-round selection in the 2025 NHL draft. And I think that's all they got back for, or that was all for Matthew Tkachuk.
Yeah, because the other guy was a free agent or whatever.
Whoa!
Pop-ups,
Sorry.
pop-up blocker. No, that's crazy. I mean, it's cool for us because we live in Edmonton and fuck Calgary, but that sucks if you're a Calgary Flames fan. I guess you got back Huberdeau. If he's a very good hockey player, at least you had some solid return.
But he's playing on the last year of his deal too. So what people are thinking is they're going to let him obviously have a good start to the season, get his points
Trade
up, and
deadline.
then trade deadline, get him and get some young
Start the
prospect.
rebuild.
And that's right. Because what do you really got now?
What are you gonna do? Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense. Somebody the other day asked me like how long Connor McDavid had in his contract left, and I said I think it's like 5 or 6 years or 7 years or something like that. And then he's like, so like, he'll be with, and I was like he'll be with the Oilers for a while. I was like, well, I mean in theory, yeah, eventually he could ask for a trade, but like the return on a Connor McDavid trade would be ridiculous. It's like, yo, give me your first line center and your best defenseman, then and like 3 picks or something like that, and then I'll trade you Connor McDavid.
He's probably on the list of untradeable players.
But if at the end of the day, it's like, yo, I want out.
That's true, but at this point in time, I feel like the team would never voluntarily trade him. It would have to be an external factor.
Never. It'd have to be him forcing
even
his way out.
Draisaitl, man. I
Never.
don't think they.
Allegedly, I have no person on the inside through any of my sports knowledge told me this is just like a rumor. Apparently, Leon Draisaitl hooked up with Darnell Nurse's sister,
I heard
Kia
this
Nurse,
rumor too.
and then things didn't go so well, and apparently Darnell Nurse like punched out Leon Draisaitl.
I heard this story too while I was working there. Yeah.
And they're all still homies. Like, you see the 3 of them out often. Like, when you see Connor McDavid out eating, apparently, I've never seen it, but allegedly he is often with Leon Draisaitl and Darnell Nurse. So it's like, management probably came to him and was like, yo, listen, $100 million, you're all here for 8 years. Y'all got to figure this shit the fuck out.
Right.
Sorry, Darnell, but we don't give a fuck about your sister, okay? That guy puts up 100 points a year. Y'all gonna have to get over this. But, I mean, it's just life, right? Like, they're athletes, they're all famous, it's like the Olympic Village.
Oh, yeah, people are going to...
You have these people that have worked their whole life, and then they, like, exponentially worked for the last, like, 4 years, 6 years to prepare for this thing, as has the other person. You're both literally in, like, the 0.001% of the most athletic people on the planet. You've just achieved, usually, or at least participated in your dream. You didn't tell me you ain't gonna fuck? Of course they're fucking in the Olympic Village. Of course they're fucking. I'm pretty sure Andrew Wiggins' parents were both Olympic athletes. And it's like, oh, wonder where you got conceived.
Do you remember the story when Tommy Salo and Mike Conley were here?
Mm-hmm.
And apparently Mike Conley hooked up with Tommy Salo's wife or whatever.
That's something about Chris Pronger and one of their wives too, and that's why he got.
I think Chris Pronger. I don't think it was an Oilers wife. I think it was just somebody else, like a civilian or something. And then his wife's like, if you don't get traded from here, the marriage is over.
Yeah.
And then he went and traded and enjoyed a pretty nice rest of his career.
Yeah, he went to Anaheim after us and won a Stanley Cup, didn't he?
Didn't we get him from Anaheim, or am I doing that backwards? I know he ended out in Philadelphia.
Yeah, I don't remember. I think he signed as a free agent coming from, like, out of St. Louis, and then we signed him. Then I think he went to Anaheim after us, if I remember correctly, which I had a couple drinks yesterday, so.
It's hazy?
Yeah. The memory recall is definitely not at the top of its prowess right now.
So what else did you get up to this week?
Really, just a lot of work, man. Just working and hanging out at home. Hanging out with my dog, hanging out with the girlfriends.
You were right. It went Hartford, Whalers, who are now the Carolina Hurricanes. And then St. Louis, then Edmonton, then Anaheim, then Philly.
It's crazy that he's like the safety guy now. Like, if you do something in the NHL, Chris Pronger's the guy that just like decides how long your suspension is.
Well, that was like George Peros too. He was a fighter, and then he was the head of the frickin' players.
Yeah,
and
it's like,
I guess no one knows it better than them, though, right?
But you'd think they would you almost need like that guy and like Martin St. Louis. It's like the dude
Oh,
who's
like the guys on the extremes.
like the guy that's ready to inflict it, and then the guy that was getting it his whole career, and like Pavel Datsuk or something, like someone who's never people that get nominated for like the best,
the Lady Bing.
the Lady Bing, yeah, like one of those guys, and one of those, because then both of them should be able to be like, well, no, dude, this guy's like a fucking skill player. Like this guy came out of nowhere and just hit him. It's like, oh well, like they would both have like the devil and the angel on their shoulders. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Speaking about the topics of hockey and blah blah blah, what about our boy there, Daryl Cates?
I didn't hear anything about him.
You haven't heard?
No, what happened?
Google it real quick. I'll let you see it in real time. Daryl Cates. It should probably be the first thing that pops up.
Is it something? Did he do something wrong?
Yep.
Okay, could see that coming.
Something quite wrong. Something like he deserves to be in jail and probably slapped up a couple
Paid
times.
for sex with a 17-year-old girl?
Ballerina. And apparently her mom was the one, like, pimping her out. Yeah.
So she should be getting fucking hooked.
Big time.
Yeah.
So apparently
What the
there's text
fuck,
messages
man?
saying that she's, like, older than... Or, like, she acts older than she is and da-da-da. She's so mature and blah, blah, blah. But then apparently there's even text messages of him being like... It's like if I'm the billionaire and I'm like, okay, well, I can't transfer you money, but I'm going to get, like, Nico's friend's cousin to transfer you the money,
party.
and then I'll give them the money. Yeah, and apparently there's, like, yeah, he's in pretty hot water. A 17-year-old ballerina, and then apparently the mom of the ballerina was cool with it, which is just so fucked up. And yeah, like, how are you a billionaire and, like, dude, fucking, what the fuck is that super sexy, famous girl? She was in the Robin Thicke video, Naked.
Oh.
Oh my god, I'm blanking
I
on her
have
name.
no idea who you're talking about.
You do know who I'm talking about, though. You know her name. Dude,
Is it a model?
Yo, yeah. She's like one of the most famous models in the world.
Is it
She just got divorced because her husband was cheating on her.
Heidi Klum?
No, way younger than that.
Emily Ratajkowski?
Her, Emily
yeah,
Ratajkowski.
She is a very attractive woman.
Very comfortable with her nudity. She
Mhm.
just left her husband or boyfriend, whatever, because he was cheating on her. Fucking retard. I mean, don't cheat on anybody. You should be with your spouse and be loyal to them. But, like, you fucking retard.
Yeah, there's levels. Like, some people are definitely swinging above their batting average.
Oh, man, Yukon Jack back in the day used to tell me, Yukon Jack, like, of the Bear, and I've said this to him, I'm not... He fucking hit out of his range, and he's like, dude, all radio guys do. We all bat out of our range because we're fucking charismatic guys. And then his funny thing was like, back in the day, I used to put this face to work. I actually had to go up and talk to her. You guys can just fucking text. I had to go talk to her. That's the hard part. And fucking he just making jokes and shit. But yeah, it's like, but if you're Daryl Cates, it's like, fuck, man, slide in her DMs. She's single. Slide in her goddamn DMs.
Yeah, but Daryl Cates has got a weird looking face, so.
Well, dude.
Based on medical conditions, I'm not trying to be a dink, but when you have a face like that, you might have to pay for.
Is it actually medical condition?
Yeah, he's got something. I'll look.
Because he looks like someone who would pay somebody for sex.
That's exactly what
like,
I'm trying to say.
He looks like a creepy fucking dude. Which sucks because he's the owner of the Edmonton Oilers.
Yeah.
But he looks like a creepy fucking dude. I mean, you make all your money in pharmaceuticals. I don't think you're the most fucking stand-up guy.
He has been battling a serious medical condition. Cates has dealt with a life-threatening bacteria-resistant sinus infection for the past 2 years, so he had to get surgery on it and stuff, and that's kind of why it looks like it's kind of probably got it from the same doctor that Michael Jackson did, potentially.
Have you watched Andrew Schultz's new stand-up special?
I haven't watched it, but I heard it's doing very well.
Yeah, and I whatever, we can talk about that. I love Schultzy, but
Yeah, he's great.
a lot of people on the internet are thinking he's like guerrilla marketing and that like he's making all of this shit up.
What do you mean? Like the content of his special he's making up?
Well, he's a stand-up comedian. He has to make up his content. So the whole thing is apparently he sold his special to a streamer. A bunch of people are saying it was Amazon, but he won't say what streamer it was. And because of like Roe versus Wade or whatever we were talking about, abortion's such a big topic in the States or whatever, he has an abortion joke.
Oh, okay.
Which is actually a funny fucking joke. But they wanted to pull it from the special. And
he said no.
Andrew's whole thing is like uncensored comedy. People need uncensored. Which, like, to be honest, he dies on that hill way too hard. It's like, dude, you're a guy standing, like, telling jokes. Like, the whole world isn't gonna fucking end if you don't say this joke. Like, it's gonna be okay. But apparently he bought back his special from the streamer, according to him, for like all of the money he had. because it was so important for him for people to get uncensored comedy, and that's what the people like, and that's where everyone's like, did this happen, or is this marketing for you to like rally the troops behind this thing or whatever? But yeah, apparently he made 3 times. He made 3 times the money that it took him to pay for his special. So say he bought the special for $1 million, he's made 3, allegedly, according to him.
That's a pretty good return on your investment.
Yeah, but in the thing he talks about Michael Jackson being like a pedophile or whatever, and then he's like, how the kids, he's like, I've seen that Neverland thing. He's like, you got everybody watch it. And I never watched the thing, but apparently in the Neverland, Finding Neverland or whatever, the kids say that Michael Jackson ate their ass. Allegedly. Schultz could be making all this up. I have no fucking idea. But he was like, you could tell he was really eating ass too, because he was trying to shave down his nose so he could get deeper in there.
Oh my god. That's a very Schultz joke too.
Whatever, fuck it, I'm not a comedian, so I don't give a fuck, I'm stealing jokes. But the abortion one, he's like, you know what, I respect a woman's right to choose. That's your body. That is 100% your choice. And of course all the women in the crowd are like, yeah, and a couple of the guys or whatever, which is fair, like, that's your choice. He's like, but keep that same energy. Because when we go and we're at the pearly gates and St. Peter, whoever the fuck's at the pearly gates, is reading our shit, our pros and cons if we should get into heaven, and they're like, what about these 3 babies you guys killed? And then all of us guys are gonna be like, who's you guys? I'm pretty sure that was 100% her decision there, Pete. I didn't have anything to do with that.
You can't have it both ways.
Yeah, it's like, if this is your decision, this is your decision. Till we go. Even there, you made this decision. I didn't make this decision. You killed that baby. And I was like, yeah, I can see how Amazon didn't want that.
Do you think that's what happens when you get up there? There's a list of pros and cons. That'd be hilarious. It's like
Kinda.
he likes ketchup on things more than hot dogs, so I don't know about that. Eats pizza with a fork and knife. I don't know.
Fuck, I can't think of any of the other. Like, I wanted to add on to that.
Oh,
but
to his bits? I'm going to watch it, I think, potentially when I'm in Fort
No,
Mac.
I meant add on to what you were saying. Like,
he has pineapple on pizza.
Yeah, that's the one I was going to use, but then you used the knife and fork on pizza thing. I was like, fuck. And it's like, he donated a bunch of money to charity and helped out at orphanages. But at the same time, he wouldn't ash before he passed. The sports are all fucked up. Daryl Cates is fucked up. Hopefully he doesn't sell the Edmonton Oilers.
Have you heard any of the crazy NBA trade rumors?
Lay it on me.
Wow.
Aside from soccer, sorry, I haven't really been paying too much attention to sports. So please.
Well, basically, the Lakers are basically trying to do whatever they can. Obviously, get rid of Russell Westbrook and his contract.
Good.
And there was this one, and I'm not talking substantiated rumors. I'm just talking crazy fan theories that I see on Instagram of how these trades could work. And apparently, some dude claims to believe that Miami Heat would trade Jimmy Butler for Anthony Davis. And I was just like, are you fucking insane? Would you make that trade?
Isn't Anthony Davis, like, when healthy, one of, like, the best 3 players in the
that's
NBA
the
or
issue.
5? But when healthy is a massive asterisk for him?
That's right. He is younger than Jimmy Butler, and Jimmy Butler is a monster, especially in the playoffs.
Beast.
Averaged more in the playoffs by a substantial margin than he did in the regular season.
He can turn it on.
That's right. He's got second gear, third gear.
Jimmy Butler has one of my favorite sports stories in...
Oh, let's hear it.
Apparently, they lost some game or whatever, and he went to practice, and the organization or something was kind of trying to say that it was, like, on him. And he was like, no, dude, like, Karl Anthony Towns is a bum. This guy's a bum. Andrew Wiggins is a bum. We're never going to win with these guys. And the front office pushed back, and he was like, okay, bet. This is what I heard on the internet. He took the 3rd string. Not even the bench. The 3rd string, and beat the starters. In a full-on, like, no bullshit scrimmage. Let's play. And went out and beat the starters, and then looked at the front office like, bums.
Yeah.
These guys are barely even in the league. Bums. Gets out of Minnesota, and it's like, eh.
But look at Minnesota now. That team is pretty stacked.
They did some good front office move. Like, I don't know who they got back for Jimmy Butler, but like drafting Anthony Edwards, that's his name, right? The big dunker. That kid is a monster, man. That kid dunks with no regard for human life.
And Karl Anthony Towns came out and said that him and Anthony Edwards are going to be the new Shaq and Kobe. which I could see to a level, but I don't think they're gonna get to that.
That's just a bad lineup because you could attempt to be Kobe. That's cool. The other guy seems like a way more athletic, slam it, get to the rim slasher than Kobe was. Young Kobe was a big slasher before he became a shooter, a la Michael Jordan. But Cat is nowhere near Shaq. No one in the NBA is near Shaq. Like, that player just doesn't exist anymore in today's game. But, like, Cat won the 3-point contest last year.
Did he? Oh, yeah, that's right.
And Shaq shot 3-pointers as jokes. You know what I mean? Like, so to compare, like, I understand what he's saying isn't, like, the most dominant 1-2 punch in the league, da-da-da-da, and, like, that's cool, but
yeah, that's
the
a better
actual
way to
player
say it
comparison,
than,
it's like even if the other guy does become very Kobe-esque, you're never going to be, like, who are the best big men in the league right now? Nikola Jokic,
for
he's
sure.
probably the closest to Shaq, and he's a fucking, like, the offense runs through him. He's like a point guard that's 7 feet tall, so he's not like Shaq. Giannis isn't like Shaq. Joel Embiid, maybe?
Yeah, I think
Like,
that's... And then you got your defensive big men, too. Then you got your Miles Turners, your
Rudy
Rudy
Gobert.
Goberts, your Bam Adebayos.
Yeah.
Rudy Gobert also in Minnesota now, so they got him and Karl Anthony Towns.
I forgot about that.
And then on the back
yeah.
end, they got D'Angelo Russell, who's meh, but he's still a good ball player.
He's a good NBA player.
That's
He's
right.
not going to be an all-star, but he's a good
That's
NBA
right.
player.
And then they got Anthony Edwards. And now, who else
That's
do
a
they
pretty
have?
solid
Right?
starting five.
Austin Rivers, who's decent. He can pull
Yet
his
again,
weight.
good player in his role.
Yeah. D'Angelo Russell. Nas Reed, who will probably be barely getting any minutes. Kyle
heard of him.
Anderson, who will probably be coming off the bench. He's a good player. Yeah, they got a decent roster. So does Atlanta now. They got DeJounte Murray from the Spurs, so him and Trae Young will be running the backcourt.
Trae Young was somebody that, like, imagine being Trae Young and, like, seeing Luka. You know what I mean? Like, they'll always be linked because of what happened, right? Which was super weird because it was the second and third pick, was it not?
I'll check the draft.
Check
class.
that up real quick,
Yep.
but I'm pretty sure it was like the second and third pick, and they drafted and switched. But it's like, if you were second and you wanted the guy that they're gonna take third, why didn't you just fucking pick him?
Yeah.
Like, why didn't you just draft him to your team? Why? Like, technically, Luka Doncic was technically drafted by the Atlanta Hawks.
He was, and then traded. So it went DeAndre Ayton, who was number 1, and then it went Doncic was selected 3rd, and then Trae Young was selected 2nd, and then they traded. So
like, if you were, hold on, so Trae Young was 2nd, so that means Dallas had the 2nd pick. If you were Dallas, why wouldn't you just take
pick
Luka Doncic?
Yeah.
And be like, Atlanta, you can take whoever. Hey, Atlanta, did you want DeAndre Ayton? No? Okay, well, we're going to take this guy.
So, yeah.
Okay.
There must be some sort of things in, like, the bargaining agreement.
There has to be,
like,
right?
some little... Yeah. Did you hear that the Golden State Warriors owner was fined $500,000 the other day?
For what?
For
tampering?
No, he went on a podcast and said that the luxury tax system in the NBA is very unfair, and he's benefiting from it, and the lower teams aren't, and they didn't like his comments, so they fined him $500,000.
That's crazy. He called out that the system is working for him and not other people in the league. Was like,
unfair.
whoa.
Yeah.
You'd almost think it'd be the other way, where it
That's
was
right.
the owner of the fucking...
No, because apparently
Sacramento's owner being like, this is bullshit.
Well, he did mention in the interview that Sacramento is on the low end of that scale because they don't have...
Their fan size is so small, apparently. Like,
Apparently, the luxury tax thing with Golden State is they have such a high cap that apparently if you go over the... And I could be wrong on this, but if you go over the cap, you get taxed double. So you're allowed to go over the tax, but then you have to pay twice as much.
You just have to pay more money.
Yeah. So, yeah, the NBA is crazy like that. I think it's funny that they have the power to veto trades, or they used to. Remember when Chris Paul was supposed to go to the Lakers? And then they've vetoed it because they didn't want to create super teams, and now look at the NBA.
But that's because the New Orleans Hornets were owned by the NBA.
That's right.
That's why they had the...
But that seems super...
If Chris Paul played for the Knicks,
that trade would have been
that
done.
trade would have went through, because Dolan's going to be like, yeah, get fucked. I'm going to trade whoever the fuck I want to trade. But yeah, they like stopped Kobe Bryant from getting a super team. But then, like, the next summer, all of the super team things started. That being said, though, like, everyone says the super team was like LeBron, Wade, and Bosh. Boston had a pretty big super team, man. They drafted Rajon Rondo, and they drafted Paul Pierce, but like, having Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, Ray Allen, and Rajon Rondo is a pretty fucking, like, you're doing it. The Lakers with Lamar Odom, Pau Gasol, Andrew Bynum, Kobe, like, I mean, I guess Andrew Bynum's drafted. You had to get lucky on that, and then they got Pau Gasol. Lamar Odom came back because of Shaq. I don't know. I don't think they, like... It's hard to say, like, when did the super team start, blah, blah, blah. But everything did change with the big three in Miami. They, like... I honestly think all of sports changed when they did that, because they, like, showed... In soccer now, a lot more people are running down their contracts so that they become free agents. They're, like, taking the power back from the teams.
Mm-hmm.
Which I mean, hey, you're going to have a short career. Get it while you can. Do what you can when you're there. What do you think happens in Portland?
Well, who did they just get?
I don't know.
I'll check. I think, well, Damian Lillard's staying.
Which is crazy.
The
big things that I want to know about this NBA season are how long can Dame put up with fucking being in Portland, and where does Kevin Durant play next season?
Yeah, man. Did you see, man? He talks so crazy on Twitter. He's like, y'all forget you're talking to the God. Like, he literally put that out on Twitter when people are talking to him. He's like, I'm the basketball God. He just talks wild. I mean, obviously, he's a crazy scorer, one of the best to do it, but...
Yeah.
Like Charles Barkley said, he's never won a championship with him steering the ship.
No.
Even Steph just did it without him again.
Steph's got 4.
That's right. Kevin Durant's got 2. He
One.
won 2 in Golden State, didn't he? It went Steph and Clay won 1 with Andre Iguodala, then Kevin Durant won 2 in Golden State, and then so that's 3 for Steph, and then Steph just won his 4th.
I don't know. See how many championships Kevin Durant has.
Okay, hold on. I'm on the Portland Trailblazers.
I'll Google it real quick while you look into that.
Yeah, okay, good enough. Thank you.
No problem. Kevin. And then, yeah, he was talking all that shit with that one fucking sports, that white guy that always talks. He's like a comedian. He also really into basketball.
Bill Burr?
No, but he's also from Boston. He's kind of like that guy.
Michael Rappaport?
Michael Rappaport.
Oh, I hate that guy.
And then he's like, "Yo, pull up, come see me." Like,
Oh,
he's
yeah,
like getting ready to fight the guy.
Apparently, Michael Rappaport like tried to sue him or something.
Yeah, for like
slander.
Yeah.
Yeah, Portland got Gary Payton from.
Gary Payton Jr.
Yeah, from fucking GP.
You're right. He is a 2-time NBA champion, 2017 and 18, and he was the Finals MVP in both years as well.
Mm-hmm.
But it's hard to say that was your team when there was 3 people that were already there before you.
And they've done it 2 other times without you.
Before and after.
That's
yeah, they
right.
bookend your championship.
Oh, dang, that's a good way to put
with
it.
fucking their own championships.
Mm.
Do you have love for Draymond Green or no?
Of course, man, and I really like what he's doing with his podcasting stuff,
I like that, like, as much as we're in the media, our old host over there, we're not journalists at all, but I like that he like takes the power back. He's like, "Oh, fuck these people misquoting me," and like you'll say it like in a bad way, but he's like, "Fuck it, I'll take the fine. I don't give a fuck. Like, I'm gonna say it how it is. Like, I'm not gonna let these people say."
It's cool to finally be able to kind of get past the media wall and see and actually hear it straight from the players' mouths instead of just getting clips of what the media's chosen to include into their articles and stuff. It's very cool to go past that wall and just... There's no middleman now. You can just hear... The Steven Jackson and Matt Barnes podcast.
I listen to it all the time.
It's really good, too.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Yeah.
And JJ Redick has a good one.
Yeah, JJ Redick, yeah. There's like, you can even see like the opposite end of that. There's a Italian soccer player that just signed for Toronto FC. His name's Lorenzo Insigne. It's a pretty big deal. He's making like a lot of money. He's like the highest paid Italian athlete in the world now, I had heard. But when he was doing his like press conference, they had an interpreter because he doesn't speak English. He just speaks Italian so far. So the person would like, you ask me a question and you spend like a minute of real time asking the question, but then somehow this interpreter tells me in like 6 seconds what your question was. Then I answer for like 2 minutes, but then somehow their answer only lasts like 30 seconds. Like, were you really saying everything that he just said, or were you like sprucing up that answer for him? Like, are you being a media person in this thing right now? Like, are you editing for this guy? And like, when I did used to work at the like media training for athletes is a real thing, 110%. Previous life, previous job, I used to work at TSN 1260, and for one summer we had a soccer show, and there was a guy named Richie.
Valens.
No, fuck, I can't remember his name, but he was from England and he had come up in the Manchester United academy. So like up until the time, like he had played for the Manchester United first team, he just never broke through. Kicked around in England, then he came over here, and when we interviewed him, and when we interviewed someone else that was just like an FC Edmonton player, you could tell that their answers were 100% different. Like the guy that had grown up at Manchester United was 110% media trained. Every answer was like, it's like, you ask the FC Edmonton guy and it's almost kind of a little bit of a more real answer. Where the other guy, it's like, oh yeah, like we got to go out there and do everything the gaffer says and it's all about the team and we got to work. It's like everything. It's like they already know how to, they're not even listening to the question. They just know how to answer. It's like, yeah, team first. We listen to the coach. Everything's good. Like media train, Connor McDavid, you can tell Connor McDavid's been media trained since he was like fucking 13 probably or some dumb shit like that. But then you get people like Sean Avery that are just out here. Like just say whatever, whenever. They don't give a single fuck. But it is nice to see them a little more uncensored for sure.
What do you were talking about a previous job at TSN 1260, which is I did my practicum in the same building there.
Yeah, CTV. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think your favorite job of all time was that you've had over the years?
I've had a lot of jobs, man. I counted with like my family the other day. I'm pretty sure I'm at like 22 or 23 separate jobs that have like paid me to do work for them. My favorite, to be honest, probably that one. Probably TSN 1260 while I was actually doing like that producer role. By the end of it, they'd move me around the building and like to try to avoid like a lot of salary cuts were happening in that building and a lot of people were getting laid off and stuff. Shout out Dan O'Toole because what I was thinking is exactly what happened to him. They have Bell Let's Talk Day where they talk about community and mental health and looking out for each other and blah, blah, blah. That'll happen on a Thursday, and on Friday, fucking 150 people will get laid off in your building. Like, I think 2 or 3 years that I worked there, I think one of the people and I was talking about it, within a week of Bell Let's Talk Day, massive layoffs happened, like, multiple times. It's like, yo, you guys couldn't have done this, like, 2 weeks before or 2 weeks after? Like, would one paycheck have really broken this shit?
Yeah, timing is
that
everything.
thing always kind of fucked with me that they do it right around Bell Let's Talk Day. And it's like, oh, wait, you don't care about mental health and people at all. You care about being able to raise a lot of money to make a charitable donation. I mean, maybe
and
that's tinfoil hat,
like,
but...
Yeah, no, I think you're probably right. They want to make their image good too, right?
Yeah. So that always bothered me. But, yeah, working in the radio station was cool just because it was super involved in sports. But the thing about that kind of became, I don't know, almost lame is like, I know like when I say this, everyone's like, oh no, man, that sounds so perfect. But your whole life, like literally you have to go to work and talk about all the sports that happened yesterday, preview the sports that are happening today. Fuck off if you want to go have a night with your girlfriend or this and that and the Oilers are playing. Like, you have to pay attention to sports. If people ask you about it, you have to have been watching this game and have knowledge on that and looked into this. And like, sometimes it's nice to have a job where you can like, you don't pave when you leave work. You know what I mean? You don't come home and fucking go in the fucking back alley and just start filling holes because it's your passion to pave. So it is cool to have a job that you're super passionate about, but it is also cool to be able to like leave your job at work, which when you're working in that sports industry, you can't really do. Like, if you miss 2 or 3 days, so much could happen that you're now completely out of the loop or uneducated about, and like now you're just behind the 8 ball. And then another thing was hockey's not my number one sport. Like, I do really like the Oilers and I'll watch them, but like I remember talking to them about like famous soccer players that are playing for big clubs, playing for Barcelona's and Bayern Munich's and Real Madrid's and Manchester City's and stuff like that. And I would say the name of the player and the people working with me would be like, yo, not who is that? What is that? I remember saying, oh yeah, Yaya Toure, he won the African Player of the Year. And the one guy said, what the fuck is a Yaya Toure? And I was like, Yaya Toure is a guy. And he was like, what? Who? Like, the fuck? But then he expects me to know who, like, the guy who's a healthy scratch for the fucking Arizona Coyotes is. And I'm like, I don't fucking know who Joe Schmo barely making the fucking Coyotes is. Like, fuck that guy. but I live in Edmonton. So to work at that place, nobody in the city of Edmonton gives a fuck about Yaya Toure. Half the people listening are, what the fuck is a Yaya Toure? But they know who fucking Brendan fucking Nikola is, this Russian fucking kid that's 17 that's going to take over the world and playing in the AHL. I'm like, fuck. I don't know anything about that fucking kid. I don't even really want to know anything about that kid. So that's what kind of eventually happened at that radio station. But that would probably have been my favorite job. What about you?
Well, I currently enjoy my job for the most part that I have now, but I think my favorite job, just for what I had to do on a day-to-day basis, is when I worked for Aramark for the Oilers, and I got to do a couple jobs. I worked my second year there. I worked in the alumni lounge, so I got to serve those guys food during games and stuff, and just kind of hang out.
Rub shoulders
Yeah.
with fucking Kevin Lowe and, I don't know, fucking...
I met Wayne Gretzky too. I served him a drink.
Nice.
Yeah, but
He likes the liquor, eh?
Oh yeah.
He likes the liquor.
He came up and shook my hand and introduced himself as Wayne
Sick.
Gretzky, and I was like, I know who the fuck you are. But I thought it was very, very like Canadian. He's
It's
like,
worse of him to assume that you know, because
That's
that's
right.
like,
I thought
but
it was-
like, bro,
yeah.
everybody in this building knows who you
The
are.
drink that I'm currently pouring you says Wayne Gretzky 99 whiskey on it, so I'm pretty sure I can make the connection. But
All right, I'm Wayne Gretzky. It's like, who, sir?
So that was cool. And then the following year, I got to do the Players' Wives Lounge. So during the games, I got to serve them food and bartend for them.
Probably a lot of silicone in there.
No habla inglés.
Yeah.
No, that was pretty cool too. Just again, who you get to rub shoulders with, because the guys would all come into the games or the lounge after to collect their wives and
Yeah.
stuff. So
And, I mean,
pay was shit, but it was a cool job.
they don't tip?
No, we didn't get. So I was in a catering, so there was never any money cashing or changing
You
hands.
got a gratuity
I
on
got
your
gratuity
check.
on my
Yeah,
check.
I worked for Northland. One of my first, or like probably like my third or fourth job was being a caterer at Northlands. So I definitely get that. It was so funny. Ludacris came one time and he was super rude to my boss, but like she was just being a fucking. She wasn't picking up what he was laying down. Like I wasn't there or whatever. I didn't meet Ludacris, but other people that worked there were like, dude, like the guy just finished performing and he just like wanted a minute to just fucking, you know, woo-saw a little bit. And apparently she's asking this and that and that. And eventually he just turned and was like, yo, I don't owe you anything. Like, leave me the fuck alone. I don't give a fuck that you work here. Like, fuck off. And then apparently just like took a couple minutes and then proceeded to be a fantastic person to everybody else there. But it's like, hey man, sometimes you gotta read the room. Like, give the guy a minute. Because like, rappers and athletes and shit talk about that all the time. Like, just because you bought the CD, I don't, like, that was the agreement. I made the CD, you bought it, you get to listen to it. Just because you run into me in public, I don't owe you anything. Like, what I owed you was the music that you bought, and you bought that. I always like Charles Barkley for that, right? Like, I am not a role model. Like, do not tell your kids to be like me. I am not a role model.
I fucking love Charles Barkley sound clips on freaking Inside the
Inside the NBA,
Yeah, or
yeah.
whenever he's sitting there, it's like, they got some big old women down in San Antonio.
Or when he's like, you know, you just got to go hard down there, and then the ball come, and you got to take the ball hard, and then Shaq will just be like, then he just can't hold it back, and then he bursts out laughing. Yeah, inside the NBA, their panel's got to be like the best sports panel.
For sure.
Like, I love it. They're so fucking funny. They're so insightful. The different characters on it all have so much respect that they have to, like, of course, there's Shaq. Every time Charles Barkley says something, he's just like, I got 4, baby. How many you got? I got 4. You ain't got 1.
They just have good rapport with each other.
Yeah, but even Kenny and Ernie, like, Ernie's got a lot of respect, and, like, he ain't got
In
no
the
rings,
sports
but,
world.
like, they have to respect him, and he's like the coolest fucking dude. You know what I mean? He's so like super hilarious, super funny. He's been on Up in Smoke, the Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson podcast, and listening to that one was good. He's like very charitable dude, has adopted a lot of kids. Him and his wife are like very, very, very like just like good people, go out of their way to like be good for the community and blah 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 blah. You got any weird facts or would you rather's for me?
Have you ever heard of the lost colony of Roanoke?
Nope.
Okay, well, I just thought this is pretty interesting. I hope you do too. So, in 1587, a small colony was founded on an island off the eastern coast of North America. The settlement would have been the first permanent English colony in the New World had the settlers not disappeared owing to unknown circumstances. The lost colony of Roanoke is one of the most notorious mysteries in American history. The cryptic clues left at the abandoned settlement and the lack of any concrete evidence make it the focus of wild speculation and theories. So in the settlement's difficult founding year, its mayor, John White, left for England to request resources and manpower. He returned 3 years later only to find the settlement completely empty. His wife, child, and grandchild, the first English child born in the Americas, having vanished, and the word Croatoan and the letters Crow carved into trees within the colony's borders were the only signs pointing to an explanation. Despite the clues, the returning crew was unable to search for the missing colonists, and no one knows what ever happened to them. Isn't that crazy?
I feel like a native truck
That's one of the
just
theories.
fucked them all up.
But then there's also theories that they got abducted by aliens and shit.
Let's go with that one.
Yeah.
I like that one more. I mean, back in those days, and from what we understand of like the Native American culture, they would never let like anything go to waste. So they probably just like harvested their bones for tools and shit.
Potentially. Or they enslaved them or something.
Something. But then like, if they didn't wipe them out, someone would have like their lineage would have survived some way somehow, unless they just got like indoctrinated.
Maybe. I'm wondering what the word Croatoan actually means, because if it's not a Native American word, then
What does that even mean?
right?
Yeah, what is that word?
At first I thought it was, when I first read it, I was like, I got it. It's Roanoke backwards. I'm like, wait, no, it's not.
Some dyslexic person came and
Yeah.
fucked all these people up.
A scholar of Algonquian linguistics has suggested that the word Croatoan means council town or talk town, which likely indicates the residence of an important leader and a place where councils were held.
That doesn't help at all.
No. But it does say Algonquian, which is Native American, indigenous. That's
On
a
like
tribe.
East Coast area, right?
I think so, yeah.
because I think there's like communities out there called Algonquin, like in like the New York area and stuff like that, Ontario area.
But I just thought that was pretty crazy.
Yeah, that is. Imagine being that guy.
Yeah,
You know
just
what
come
I mean?
back,
Like, you
it's
just show
like-
up and you're literally like that, like John Travolta in Pulp Fiction. He's like,
Yeah, he's just looking around.
like, what do you do? He's like, I hop in the boat and go back. Like, I thought I was gonna come back to this like thriving.
Or maybe he's like, yeah, no more family connections. I'm going back to England and it's about to get
My
lit.
side piece about to be my main bitch. No.
See you in 3 years, honey.
Goes back to England. They're all
They're all
dead.
gone,
It's like, what the fuck? I listened to a podcast called The Brilliant Idiots, and their producer is this guy named Chris Moreau, and he is doing a project right now with Kevin Hart about apparently this like community in Philadelphia back in like the early 90s or something, and they were like a very like anti-government, anti-whatever, and they were trying to build their own community, but apparently like they wouldn't vaccinate any of their dogs or any of their animals, so all their animals were dying and shit, but they didn't believe in like burial and shit. They would literally just like throw them in the backyard, and then apparently the whole place got like mad rat infestations and like disease was spreading within this little community. So like the community around said little, because they'd had like 8 houses or something that they bought, but the whole community around it was like, yo, we need these people out of here. Like, this is fucked up. Like, they're fucking up our way of life. And then the American government like attempted to intervene, and 2 cops got shot or something like that. So then they went back a couple years later and like bombed the place. Like, the American government bombed a building in Philly and let all these buildings burn down and all this crazy shit. And this like tribe of people that they all took the last name Africa. So like they weren't Africans, but they were the Africas because that was their last name. And the same summer, the Live Aid concert happened in Philadelphia. Type in Live Aid Philadelphia. And that was like a big concert to like raise money for famine in Africa. So the big controversy is like, yo, you're trying to fund people in Africa, but you don't care about the Africas in America. Like, you're bombing us, but funding them. And they both, it's this like new audio book that he's putting out, but just like, what made me think about is how you were saying that they were like their own community got wiped out. That's the same thing as these people. Like, they were their own community trying to build, and then they just bombed. They literally bombed a building in Philadelphia. Like, they dropped a bomb from the air in a building in their own territory. And it's like super unheard of story apparently. So I'm kind of looking forward to listening to this audio.
I've never heard of that, but that reminds me. Have you ever heard of Ruby Ridge or the Waco siege in Waco, Texas?
Fuck yeah, dude.
Aren't those crazy stories too?
I know I've heard both those stories. I've watched quite a bit. Or like Black Wall Street. You know about Black
I don't
Wall
know
Street?
that one. I'll look it up.
Black Wall Street was a group of like African American people in Oklahoma that came together and built a community. And then, if I remember this correctly, their rule was that like every dollar in our community should be passed around our community like 5 or 6 times before it leaves the community. So like, you're the asphalt guy, I'm the carpenter, Nico's the electrician. We don't use anybody but us.
We just use each other.
Always.
Cool.
Always, always, always. And then they built like a bunch of wealth all together, and they were like, their quality of life was like ridiculously high, and they were building this community, and then the government just came in and like shut the whole thing down. And then there's like a bunch of like clear like black people are like, oh, they couldn't let us get ahead, blah 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 blah. And I haven't done too much research if they were like anti-government or anything like that. But yeah, there's definitely precedent of people, if you try to make your own kind of like group and they don't like that, they're just gonna wipe your ass out. I mean, Waco was a little crazy too. Like, none of these people, like, none of them are saints at the same time. Like, none of them are making, you know, all of them are doing some shady shit too. But it is crazy. Like, man, you can't fuck with the government, man. They're gonna win.
Yeah, if you try to be like distance yourself from like, if you're living on their land and you try to say that you're not part of them, they do not like that at all.
Unless you're in Mexico. You know, El Chapo's son gets caught, and they're like, okay, bet. Start rolling up to the jail with literal tanks, and the government's like, y'all, you can have them. I'm good. One of my friends lived in Mexico for like 10 years, and they were just off the beach, and he was like, this is just how Mexico works. They were just off the beach, so there was one road to get in and out, and some fucking asshole built a fence right down the middle of the road. So you had to walk. You couldn't drive. And all of the people in the area like wanted this fence taken down, but that guy was, you know, had more money than everybody and was corrupt, so none of the government would ever do anything about it and blah, blah, blah. So even that guy that Nico had brought up, Tate, what the fuck is his first name? Andrew Tate.
Yeah.
Apparently, he says the reason that he lives in Romania or wherever the fuck that he lives is because he's like, if you live in America or like the West, corruption's only available to the super wealthy.
I heard this
in
quote.
Romania.
Yeah, it's available.
It's available to everyone. He's like, it's like Mexico. It's like you get caught with some weed. It's like, well, here's $100 American. It's like, all right, well.
Yeah, he's like, why would you live in a place where you can't access the corruption?
Yeah, if you had the opportunity to live in a place where you could. And I mean, that's like a shitty thing to say, but it's like at the end of the day, he's just the guy that's comfortable saying it because there's 100 million people that do that. Apple literally bases their shit in Ireland so that they don't have to pay as much tax, even though everything that they do is in California or fucking China.
Apparently, he makes like millions of dollars each month. He has like his hands in casinos. They manage, him and his brother manage OnlyFans models, and yeah.
Yeah, I heard that his he used like his kickboxing career to fund like webcam girls. Then he literally had like estates with like 30 rooms and all girls in every room just pumping out money. He was like a webcam pimp, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, man, he's crazy.
Do you have any would you rathers for us?
Yeah, I got a couple we can go through if you'd like. Would you rather live one life that lasts 1,000 years or live 10 lives that last 100 years each? And yes, you can put those 100 years scattered throughout human history, but the 1,000 has to be through a period of time.
I'd want the 10 100s, but not, I don't think for the way that... I used to have a t-shirt that said immortality is a fool's dream, because you always say I poke holes in the would you rathers. My only question would be, does everyone else around me lives regular lives, right? Like their lifespan is the regular human?
This is just affecting you, yep.
Yeah, then yeah, I wouldn't want to be there for 1,000 years, man. Everyone you love, you just consistently have to see come and go, come and go, come and go, come and go. You're going to outlive everybody in your life. It's a thing that, like, I'm an overthinker, and I, like, kind of, like, overthink and get depressed on shit. Like, my dog's 5 years old, and I'm already dreading the day that my dog dies. Like, I get emotional thinking about it sometimes. He's, like, my best friend, man. He's gotten me through some real tough parts in my life, and it's, like, I'm going to outlive my dog. And it's, like, fuck, man. Like, I hear stories about, like, people that have to hold their dog. I could literally start crying if I start thinking about this. Like, hold their dog while they get, like, euthanized and shit. Like, man, I'm literally dreading that day. But I'll never abandon him. I'm not letting him be in that room solo. I could literally start crying right now. This is crazy. But doing that with humans, that would be too much, man. That would be too
Yeah,
much.
but technically the 10 times, you're doing it 10 times.
I understand, but there'd be people coming into my life that I wouldn't outlive.
Oh, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
I'd
You'd still have to lose this. You'd still have to lose people in those 100 years too, right?
But that's life. You're
Yeah.
gonna have to
But
lose
you have to
people.
do that 10 times, whereas the 1,000 years, you would also have to do it, but you would probably be able to do it at your own pace.
Wait, do I keep the consciousness over, or do I reset every 100 years?
I think that yes. I think that you restart again.
Yeah,
So you probably don't remember that you lost people.
That's what I'm saying. So then, yeah, I would gladly do that. Like,
okay, good enough.
because the 1,000 years, man. Imagine meeting people from anywhere from year like 50 to year 999. Every single person you meet, you're going to see them die. You're going to like. Eventually, it's like, yo, it's my turn, man. Like I'm out of here. I don't want to keep just losing people. Like you'd start not wanting to make connections.
I wonder if you have to live to the 100 years and to the 1,000 years limit, or if there's a chance that if you die from some unnatural cause, like getting hit by a car, then, you know what I mean? Does it make you immortal for those 100 years, or is it just you're just living a lifetime with a 100 years cap, and on the day 100 you're just walking along and it's like done? Yeah.
I don't know, but yeah, I think I don't think I'd want to just consist like. It's meant for you that your parents should go before you go, but you should go before your kids. In that case, every time I had a kid, I'd outlive them.
That's true.
Like I'd have to like. It makes it a fucked up way to think about it, but like, your return on investment would just keep diminishing. And you would just not want to make the connections anymore.
Yeah, that's right. You would just be like less and less interested and do less and less with these connections.
Because you'd be like,
you'd probably end up old, alone, and fucking
bitter
miserable.
As fuck, yeah.
Turn into the fucking Unabomber. Okay, the next one is, we'll do one more. Would you rather use eye drops made of vinegar or toilet made from sandpaper? Toilet paper made from sandpaper.
I think I'd rather do the toilet paper of sandpaper.
Really?
Well, wait, what's the grade?
What's the really fine stuff? Like 300? It would have to be like 80 grit. Coarse as fuck. No, I'm just joking. I say somewhere in the middle. Vinegar's not very pleasant in your eyes. It's got to be equivalent grittiness.
Yeah, you can't cop out and take like... But I could like kind of like just, is it like as a crazy shit, or is it one of those shits where, you wipe once and you're like, yeah, I'm good?
Well, the other question would have been... that I was gonna ask would have been.
I don't think I could stand that burning in my eyes, man. There's really like I guess you could wash your eyes, but there's like I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't think I'd want to do that.
Just vinegar one, salt in the other.
One of the jobs that I had in high school summers is I worked at the Keg as like a salad and an appetizer chef or whatever. But one of the chef is a stretch helper in a kitchen. One of the jobs that we had to do is they had like a big meat slicer and we'd have to slice like 20, 15, 25 pounds of onions every day because they have those like fried onion things that they use as a side. And man, like the onion in this room, like in the air, dude, you'd walk behind the person just cutting through the kitchen and your eyes would start to be like, the one day we started bringing swimming goggles, and the one guy laughed, and I was like, fuck that. Like, I'm literally the one guy saran wrapped his face. The one guy took saran wrap and wrapped from his fucking nose up so that it didn't get in the eyes. And then Josh, who has, like, some culinary experience, was like, no, man, you just have to breathe through your mouth the whole time. If you breathe through your mouth, it won't happen. And something about breathing through... I don't know. He said some little life hack, and it worked pretty well, but eventually he was like, dude, this is 25 pounds of onion. I say all that to say, by the end of it, the blade would literally be dripping with like a murky yellowish onion juice, and all of us back in the day were like, man, imagine you bottled that and put it in Visine, and then you're just at a party and everyone was smoking, someone's like, oh, I need Visine, you gave them that, and they literally just boom boom the onion juice right into their eye. So when you said that vinegar thing,
that's evil.
That's immediately what I thought of, and I don't know if I could do that. That would be too much. That would be way too much. Yeah. I think I'd rather wiping your ass with sandpaper would fucking suck too. I don't know. That's a lose-lose for sure, but I think I would do the booty hole damage before I did the eye damage. Fuck that. That would be terrible.
As long as the vinegar didn't do anything negative to my actual eyesight, I think
I
would take the vinegar. Because how often am I usually using eye drops? Not very often. How often am I wiping my ass? Very often.
Well, I thought this was a one-time thing.
Okay, well, let's just make it a one-time thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, yeah, if that's the case, then yeah, I haven't used eye drops in years. I'm taking that. I could probably go the rest of my life without using them if I really had to. So yeah, if it's an ongoing thing, then yeah, you wipe your ass multiple times a day. Fuck that. Yeah. But if it's a one-time thing, I might take the sandpaper. Anyway, that's been another episode of 7 Days, 1 Week. Thank you for rating, reviewing, subscribing, commenting, liking. Oh, we need you, Dan. We need you here to keep me on fucking point. Yeah, it's been another episode. Thanks for sticking around to the end, all 2 of you. Gang, gang. Peace.